Alright, so on to our villains. We're gonna get 2 copies of for our first set, we're gonna have the villain group of the Clan Yoshida Wolverine villains. It's just kind of interesting because Wolverine's not in this set at all, but it's still awesome. We're getting some new characters. So you have Silver Samurai. So he's gonna have a health cost of 3. Chivalrous Duel, so you can only fight him with one other character, and Ambush. The villain of the city worked the most VP captures a bystander. If you fight him, KO a card from your discard pile. That's not even an optional, that's a forced KO, so that could be very bad depending on what you have in there. Yeah, Silver Samurai was one of the big villains. Then we are going to get Gorgon, 2 copies of him, who we've seen before in the, don't remember what set it was. He was with the, it was maybe the Hydra set. He was with the Hydra group, because he was working with them for a bit. But yeah, he's part of the Clan Yoshida. Also Chivalrous Duel, he has 5. Ambush, choose a hero name. You can't play heroes this turn unless they're that named hero or gray hero. So basically he's not only limiting to only fighting with one guy, you only play with one guy, and fight KO one of your heroes. You guys like to just take people out. They're assassins and samurais. He also has, based on his name with Gorgon, he has the Gorgon stare. He can turn people into stone. He's also a very skilled swordsman. And then we have 2 copies of Lord Shingen. He's one of the guys that helped train Wolverine. Then, Chivalrous Duel. 4, Ambush. Lord Shingen captures a bystander. Bystanders held by Lord Shingen are samurai bodyguards. You can't fight Lord Shingen while he has any bodyguards. You can fight them as if they were 3 attack villainous with Chivalrous Duel. Fight, rescue this as a bystander. So it's actually really cool. He pulls a guy, basically pulls a bystander. He's like, you have to fight this. Fight these samurai first before you can fight me. They only cost 3, but that effectively makes him essentially a 7. Just kind of neat. And then our last one is the Scarlet Samurai, who I actually had to look this up because I wasn't sure who this was. This is Mariko Yoshida, Wolverine's at one time wife. So, in the long history of comic books, at some point she died. She went to hell. Wolverine met her in hell. She didn't want to be rescued. Gorgon resurrected her, made her the Scarlet Samurai to fight as opposing to the Silver Samurai. Long story. This is actually really cool because I did not expect this type of card in here. So, she has 3 to defeat, but she has Chivalrous Duel and you gain her as a hero. I did not expect her to be a random hero card in this set, so it's really cool. You play her for that. She gives you 2 attack, and you can potentially draw a card. Also, really awesome is she's part of the Crime Syndicate, who are from the villain set. So after they made the villain set in the 1 expansion, they stopped doing villains in the villain mode, and now they only do them as heroes. I honestly really wish they just redo the entire box set of villains. Just change all the text back that treat them as heroes instead of adversary and stuff like that. Like, just change the words so it fits in line with everything else. But during that set, they only had, I think, Bullseye and Kingpin were the only 2 Crime Syndicate characters. And then later, in the World War Hulk set, I believe, we got Joe Fixit Hulk, Grey Hulk, and now we potentially have this character, so we can almost make a full team of Crime Syndicate characters. So I wish they'd release more. Should be definitely cool, but there's those guys. Alright, so we're going to look at our first mastermind. So, kind of theming with Wolverine villains, we're going to go to Lady Deathstrike, who always leads the Reavers. Master Strike, if she is preying on the player, finish the player. Otherwise, prey on the fewest instinct, finish the prey. When that player gains 2 wounds, Each other player discards 2 cards. One player gain instead, gain a wound, and discard a card. She costs 8, so she comes in, so you get a Master Strike. She's going to prey on whoever has the lowest, and if you draw another one, they're going to gain 2 wounds, and everyone discards 2 cards, which is pretty bad. But until you draw another Master Strike, you have until that player gets it, and then she's going to finish them. But if you draw another Master Strike in the meantime, she immediately finishes. So you could get a bad draw. And then, like all these newer ones, she has an alternate side, the Epic mode. So everything stays the same, basically. She has 11 attack. It's just, if she's preying on the player, finish the prey. Then whether she's preying on the prey or not, prey on the fewest. And then finish the prey. Player gains wounds to the top and bottom of their decks. Each other player discards down to 3 cards. So instead of discarding 2, now you have to discard down to 3. It's going to really kill your hand. And instead of just gaining 2 wounds, you gain 1 to the bottom and 1 to the top of your deck. So now they're in your deck versus being in your discard pile. So this is a lot harder to beat. A lot harder to deal with if you get that. Alright, let's look at her tactics. She's going to have Cybernetic Healing Factor. Fight. If this is not the final tactic, and if Lady Deathstrike was not preying on a player, KO the top 2 hero. KO up to 2 of your heroes, rescue 4 bystanders, and shuffle the tactic back into your remaining tactics. So that sucks because you don't know when this is coming up. But if you're not currently preying on someone, you're going to lose up to 2 of your heroes, which could be shield cards because they're considered heroes, but still could suck. Prey on the weak. Fight. Each building that's preying on a player finishes the prey after they've all entered the city. Then each building of the city with the prey ambush does that ambush starting from the sewer. So they did do it a second time. Ugh. Relentless Assassin. If Lady Deathstrike was not preying on a player, each other player reveals their hand. She preys on the one of those players with the fewest non-gray heroes. So that one's not terribly bad because it's a forced prey, but it doesn't like immediately destroy you. And then Stretching Adamantium Claws. Fight. You may KO one of your heroes. If you have an instant cure, you may instead KO up to 2 of your heroes. Yeah, it's just, I like this one because it's beneficial-ish, potentially. Alright, so she's going to lead the Reavers. The Reavers are a bunch of human cyborgs, led by 2 copies here of Donald Pierce. So they hate mutants, they made themselves cyborgs, so they have enhancements, kind of like Lady Deathstrike did, that's why she leads them. She's not always associated with them in the comic books, but more often than not she is. So he has prey on the fewest tech. Finish the prey, KO one of that player's non-gray heroes. Fight, KO one of your gray heroes. So he's going to get rid of your generic guys. We have 2 copies of Bonebreaker. His upper half is a human. The bottom half is a tank. So it's prey on the fewest strength. Finish the prey, that player gains a wound to the top of their deck. Fight, reveal the top card of your deck, KO it, or draw it. We're going to get 2 copies of Skullbuster. So you have a big metal arm there. Ambush prey at fewest range. Skullbuster captures 1 bystander from the bystander stack and 2 bystanders from that player's victory pile of their choice. Finish the prey. KO the captured bystanders, and each player discards a card. Getting the bystanders back is kind of nice because you could potentially use the special ones, get their ability a second time. But everyone having to discard a card kind of sucks. But it's just at least kind of nice to finish the prey abilities. Is you can kind of decide whether it's worth, if you have it and you have time, you can decide whether it's worth taking the hit or not. You'd be like, you know what, we're just gonna let it hit if it hits. It's not gonna kill anybody. Like this one, oh, you have to discard a card. That sucks, but it's not going to necessarily, like, destroy anybody or, whatever. And then we have 2 copies of Pretty Boy, who only costs 2. So it's kind of funny, because he's all entirely cyborg except for his face, which is, is his Pretty Boy feature. Prey on the fewest covert. Finish the prey. That player discards a card. Bite, discard the top card of your deck. If it has a star icon, you get +1. And the villain preys on the fewest covert. So if it has a star, you gain a bonus, but he comes back into play right away. Alright, so that's our villain there. Our next mastermind we're going to look at is Exodus. So he's like the right hand of Magneto. Let me see. Bennett DuPaul, I think was his name, if I remember right. Definitely much cooler in the Age of Apocalypse. And I didn't have a big role. So you'll notice he has 32 health, which I think is one of the biggest healths in the entire game. But you may pay 3 recruit any number of times to shatter him. So the first time it'll be down to 16, then it'll be down to 8, then it'll be down to 4, then down to 2, then down to 1. Because you can't go below that. So you can definitely take him out. And then he always leads to the Acolytes. And there's Master Strike, choosing X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, or Brotherhood. Each player discards one of those heroes or gains a wound. I like that they included the Brotherhood from the villain set. But again, as I just said, if they re-released that set with all the characters with the same terminology as the regular heroes, I think more people would be apt to buy it and play as them. Because right now it's kind of confusing to throw them in the mix of everybody else because they have different names and different terminologies. And then plus the fact that the villain set, the city's backwards. So some of the cards function differently. Like, because they'll say, oh, attack the bank. Except in that one, the bank is the 4th spot instead of the 2nd spot. Or it might say, like, the sewers were mentioning the last spot versus the first spot. So I kind of wish they just that's just me, though. But each player discards one of those heroes or gains a wound. So he's attacking them. And then his his epic side has 36, so he gains 4 more health. Any number of times you may share access by spending 2, +1 for each immortality stacked here. So he gains, it's cheaper, but he has some immortality cards. Master Strike. Sack the strike next to Exodus as an immortality. Choose one of the 4 X groups. Choose and KO one of those heroes, or gain a wound to the top of their deck. So now it doesn't discard it, it KOs them, and the wound goes to the top of the deck. And there are 5 Master Strikes, so he could potentially be up to 5. So the first time you shatter him, it costs 2. He gets 1 Master Strike, now it's 3. So now it's the same as his regular version. But then after that, every time it's going to go up to 4, 5, 6, 7. And if he has all 5 Master Strikes and you have to now pay 7 to shatter him, you might only be able to shatter him once. So you might need to take advantage of this as soon as you can. Alright, so his abilities are Unite all mutant kind. Each other player chooses one of their X groups heroes to enter the city as a villain with attack equal to its cost. Fight. Gain this as a hero. If no card enters the cityway, each player gains a wound. Each other player chooses one. That could suck because he could have like 4 other characters enter the city. Omega level mutant. Each other player reveals their hand and discards all their cards that cost 1 or more. Then draws that many cards. At least you get to draw your cards so your turn's not a waste, but it could ruin all your plans. Avalon. Asteroid Haven. You may gain an X-Team character hero from the HQ. Each other player discards 2 cards that aren't any of those teams. So yeah, if you're only playing with like 1 group of them, that could really be bad. And then Resurrected Dead. Fight. Choose a player. That player gains one of the X teams. from the KO pile. Then choosing a non-henchman villain from their victory pile to enter the city. So you get a character, but they also get a character. So a little bit yin and yang-y. Pretty interesting. So he's going to lead the Acolytes, which is Magneto's group. People have fallen, so you get 2 copies of Unisayakone. Has 8, but you may pay 2 any number of times to shatter her. So her mutant ability there, as you can see around her, she has like a green field that she can kind of control. It's like a solid mass almost. I didn't really talk about Exodus much. His abilities are basically anything. He has super speed, flight, super strength, immortality, shoots laser beams from his eyes, telepathic. He can also teleport in the Age of Apocalypse comic books. I don't know if he's discovered that ability in the regular universe. But he's just jack of all trades mutant. Alright, so she has ambush, she captures a bystander. Nothing too terrible. Next up we have Tempo, 2 copies of Tempo. Her ability is time manipulation. So she has 16 health, but you may shatter Tempo any number of times. Each time you do this, draw 1 fewer card. When you draw a new hand cards at the end of this turn, fight, draw 2 cards. So that's actually a really cool way to do the shatter ability. So you start out, she has 16, you can choose to draw stuff, 5 cards, you can draw 4 cards, or draw 1 less card, to knock her down to 8. So, I can't take her out with 8 yet, you can choose to draw 1 less card, next turn to drop her down to 4. You know, I mean, basically, how badly do you want to suffer on your next turn to be able to do this? But once you beat her, you get to draw 2 more cards, so basically you're going to gain, you can lower her way down at the sacrifice of your next turn to gain a big bonus this turn by being able to beat her and potentially doing something else. Okay, up next we have Frenzy. She's super strong and invulnerable. Who has 12. You may pay 1 any number of times to shatter Frenzy. Each time you do, reveal the top card of the hero deck and put it on the bottom of that deck. If it is a strength card, gain a wound. If it is an instant card, the player on your right gains a wound. Fight, KO one of your heroes. I love this, again, the ability for shattering. That you can really cheap, or you can do it a bunch easily, but there's a downside to it. And then we have 2 copies of Random, which out of all the Acolytes, I wouldn't have picked him. I don't recall him being, like, he's a more memorable character than some of the other ones, but they have the Line Brothers, they have Spore, Amelia Vogue. Even they could have put Colossus in here when he was an Acolyte. They have Rusty as Fire Fist. He was an Acolyte for a little while. Like, he went up and joined Magneto there. Like, there's other more, Sekia, who had the energy whip, who Magneto killed with his own whip, but he came back, because of course he did. Like, there's other interesting, more actual Acolyte characters when you think of the Acolytes being randoms. It's kind of weird they put him in here. I think they needed to figure out how to stick him in there, because he's kind of a... he's fought against, like, X Factor and some of the other teams, so they wanted to figure out where to put him in there. Anyhow, you may pay one recruit anytime to shatter Random. Each time you do, reveal the top card of the hero deck. Put it on the bottom if it's a covert, tech, or range. Then random gets +1 attack equal to that card's cost. Escape, the player discards a card at random. That's actually crazy though, because you can shatter him for 1, and then you could gain anywhere from like 2 to 8, depending on what card you reveal, and then you could shatter him again to try and get him back down, but again, it could keep happening. But that's what makes him random. That's basically his abilities. He's a shapeshifter who can turn his body into various different shapes. He essentially has no mold, like no form. Like you stab him, like you can stab straight through him. Like, so he's not like Mystique shapeshifter, he's not changing a different person. He can basically reform his body however he wants. He can shoot energy blasts. He's a neat character. He was actually part of the X Factor team for a while. Alright, so our last mastermind is very interesting. So we have Bastion, the Fused Sentinel. She wants to take out mutants. So I'm going to see if I can pull this back a bit. I'm going to see if I can zoom, get a better zoom on this. There we go. All Sentinel Masterminds get +1 for each Master Strike KO in the KO pile, even after Bastion is defeated. So there's a really interesting mechanic here. So he only has 4 to beat, so it's not that hard to beat. But any mastermind that's a Sentinel gets 1. He always leads the Purifiers and any Sentinel Henchmen group, which is a Sentinel group in the base set, and there's a Sentinel group in this set. Master Strike. Place a card from the Bystander stack that ascends to become a 3-cost Prime Sentinel Mastermind with Fight. Rescue this, and then Master Strike. Each player reveals the top card of their deck and discards it if it costs 1 or more. So every time you draw a Master Strike, a Bystander becomes another 3-cost Mastermind. So you could potentially have up to, with just him, you could have up to 6 Masterminds. Plus, they all get +1 for each Master Strike in the KO pile. So the first one comes out as a 3, and then if you KO them, the next one's going to come out as a 4. If you KO that one, the next one's going to come out as a 5. So they're each going to get more and more powerful every time you KO more of them. Even if you defeat him, it's going to stay the same thing. Then his epic side, so he gains 6 health. Sentinels get +1 for each Master Strike, same thing. Master Strike, card from the Bystander essentially become a 4 instead of a 3. And then the Master Strikes, each player reveals the top card of their deck and KOs it if it costs 1 or more. So it's a little bit harder. Now his tactics makes him incredibly interesting. So we have Master Mode, Sentinel Factory, which says, fight, rescue 3 bystanders, KO 1 of your heroes, and the Master Mode ascends to become an additional mastermind, whose ability is, a Sentinel henchman from the villain enters the city, shuffle the villain deck. So now you have another mastermind that can come in that also gains a bonus from that ability. We can have Template, the Infected Sentinel. So you rescue 3 bystanders, KO 1 of your heroes. Template ascends to becoming an additional mastermind whose ability is each player reveals a covert hero or discards 1 or more of their non-gray heroes. So these guys become worse and worse. Then we have Nimrod, the Future Sentinel. Rescue 3 bystanders, KO 1 of your heroes. Nimrod ascends to becoming an additional mastermind. Master Strike, choose recruit or attack. Each player discards a card with the chosen icon. And then finally we have Machine Man, Sentinel Supreme. Rescue 3 bystanders, KO 1 of your heroes. Machine Man ascends to become an additional mastermind. Master Strike. Each player reveals a tech hero or gains a wound. So while you're playing against Bastion here, you have 4 tactics, so you can beat 3 of. If you're playing where you only have to beat 3, you only have to beat all 4. You can have 3 of them come out. If you're playing where you have to beat them the last time, you could have 4 come out. But if you only play, you have to beat 3, and you have 5 Master Strikes in the deck, you could have him plus 5 Master Strikes and 4 characters. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 8 Masterminds out with him potentially. Maybe 9 if you have the other, if you're playing where you have to defeat all of them. All out at the same time. They're not, independently, they're not all very strong. The highest one is a 7 cost, except all of them are going to gain +1 for every Master Strike. So as you beat the cheaper ones, you don't have to keep dealing with their Master Strike abilities, because if you have 4 of them out and you hit a Master Strike, you're going to get hit with a ton of different effects. So you kind of want to keep negating them, but it also kind of makes everyone stronger. It's a definitely fun way to play a villain. Then he is going to lead the Purifiers, which are humans that want to get rid of mutants. So we have the Leper Queen. Ambush, prey on the most X-team members. Finish the prey. The player gains a wound and KOs 2 bystanders from their victory pile. Shuffle 2 cards if you fight them. Shuffle 2 cards from the bystanders stack into the villain deck. Yeah, she's actually killed mutants, plenty of them. They've all killed mutants, so they're definitely dangerous. We have Reverend William Stryker. You might remember from some of the movies, but you didn't quite see this evil. Ambush with the most X-team characters. Stryker captures 1 sidekick from the sidekick stack, and 2 sidekicks from that player's hand or discard pile of their choice. Finish the prey. KO the captured sidekicks, or fight gain the captured sidekicks. So you really want to definitely beat him so you're not losing them sidekick cards. Cameron Hodge, who's way back old villain. Has a grudge against Angel. Ambush prey on the X team. Hodge captures one of that player's non-gray heroes of their choice. KO the captured hero, or choose a player to gain the captured hero. I like that then you can give it back to that person, or you can choose to keep it. Alright, then the last 5 of this set, because normally we have 2, 2, 2, 2, is we have Predator X. So Predator X is going to be interesting. So he has Ambush, prey on the most strength hero, and then clone. So you have to find another one of him. And then finish the prey. That player discards a strength hero. If they can't, they discard any non-gray heroes. So he's not hard to beat, but they're gonna keep popping out more and more of them. And then this one has a green border to show that it's strength. And then his other 5 are the other colors. So we have Instinct, Covert, Tech, and Range. You just get all 5 of them. But remember, when they clone, they don't re-kick off their ambush ability. So one summons another one. But they're not going to keep summoning all 5 of them. But yeah, they're not hard to beat at 3, but you have to immediately deal with 2 of them, which is essentially 6. Alright. Then we have our schemes, which I was telling you are very odd and different. So we have, first one here, we have Raid Gene Banks 2 to what? She says, set up 8 twists. Twist 1 through 3. There's a villain in the bank stacked to twist next to the mastermind as a mutant genome. Otherwise, move a villain from another city space to the bank. Twist 4. The scheme transforms into a random unveiled scheme. Do its twist effect. So this one's basically, you're playing your twist, you're setting aside cards that are mutant genomes. And then, let's say if we get the other side of the random side. So it says we were Gene Raiding Banks 2, unleash an anti-mutant bioweapon. She says, when revealed, twist stacked next to the mastermind are bioweapon adaptations. So went from mutant genomes to bioweapons. Twist, add a twist to the bioweapon adaptation. Then for each card in the stack, choose a different number. 2 to 6, KO all heroes from the HQ that have any of those cards. Evil wins when there are 15 non-grade heroes in the KO pile or the villain or hero deck runs out. Yeah, so the first one builds up some, and then this one just finishes them off. Yes, it's just kind of odd because you're calling it one thing, and then it turns out it calls it a different thing. It's not that big of a deal because they just sit there and that's what they are. But it gets a little odd, I guess, to me. So you have higher singularity investigations to 9 twists, 1 through 4. If there are any singularity investigators in the city, stack this twist next to the mastermind as a dark discovery. Whether you did that or not, investigate the bystander stack for a card and have it enter the city as a singularity investigator. It's interesting you have to investigate, because then you could pick if it's a regular or a special, instead of just drawing one. It has 6 attack, fight, rescue this bystander, then KO one of your heroes. Then investigate your deck for a card with a recruit icon. Twist 5 transforms into a random steam. So it's kind of interesting here again because it's the twist next to our Dark Discovery, which you're going to play in. But then you're also getting to put other cards into play. So now if you flip to another one, so if I flipped to this one, then the singular investigators aren't going to do anything extra anymore because now just everything's the other card. Alright, so if we flip this one over to reveal the hero's evil clones. So it's twist stack next to the mastermind now become cloning breakthroughs. Twist, add the twist to the clone breakthroughs. The top card of the hero deck enters the city as an evil clone. Clone a copy of it from the HQ or hero deck as another evil clone. And special rule, evil clones have the attack equal to the cost plus the number of cloning breakthroughs. It has fight a player against this as a hero, KO one of your heroes. Evil wins, and there are 7 evil clones in the city and or escape pile or the villain or hero deck runs out. That's kind of cool though. It's an interesting little gimmick. Again, this could just been a thing by itself, and it didn't have to be part of a setup. Which is what's kind of odd. Alright, so you have hacked into Cerebro servers, 10 twists, put a card from the bystander stack next to the Steam as a hacker, KO a hero from the HQ with the cost equal to the number of hackers. If you KO'd a hero this way, stack this twist next to a mastermind as stolen Cerebro data. Twist 6, put a hackers at the bottom of the bystander stack, and then put the hackers onto the bottom of the bystander stacks. Transform into the Steam. The card from the bystander stack next to the Steam as a hacker. So you get that. Yeah, so... Oh, you're just getting rid of the hacker, so the only thing that's sitting out is the stolen Cerebro data. I get you. And then, control the Mutant Messiah. When revealed, twist next to the stack, our manipulators shuffle a random extra hero into a face-down Mutant Messiah stack. Which is, again, this is odd, because now it's halfway through this game that you're adding this pile in here. So add this twist next to the manipulations, investigate the Mutant Messiah deck for a card, set it aside. This turn you may gain that card in the top of your deck. You may gain that card to the top of your deck by spending a recruit equal to its cost, +1 for each manipulation. If you don't, then put that card into the Fallen Messiah stack next to the Steam. When there are 3 cards in the Fallen Messiah stack, or the villain deck runs out. 3 cards is pretty cheap because, depending on what stack you get, you might have like 5 or 6 out there, so you might have to pay a ton to get that card. Because like this one here, that we just flipped this one over, you have 10 twists. It's 6 twists, but you're not always gonna have a twist become one of them because you have to KO a hero. But you look at either of these other two. There's 9 twists, so by the time you hit twist 5, or twist 4 at least, there is in the stack. Okay, so this one's relying on them, so they might not always hit. Yeah, there's the more there are out there. So this one there might be 3 out there. So you might end up with 3 right off the bat. It just depends on which ones. It's interesting. Twist stack next to the mastermind. I mean, we already looked at that one. Let's get rid of that card. Alright, so then our last one is Drain Mutant Powers to what? 11 twists. 1 through 6. Stack the top 2 cards of the sidekick stack face down next to the Steam as Kidnapped Mutants. If there are any kidnapped mutants already there, put this at the bottom of the sidekick stack and put this twist next to the mastermind as Drained Power. Special rules. Players may spend 3 attack or recruit to gain a kidnapped mutant. Twist 7. KO all kidnapped mutants with steam transforms. So you're gonna have 7. And then shuffle a random additional villain group into the villain deck. Ooh, you're already 7. That could, again, depending on how quick you get them 7. You might be at the end of the game, you might be early in the game. Twist stack next to the mastermind are temporal rifts. Add this twist to the temporal rifts, then reveal the number of... and set aside cards from the villain deck equal to the number of temporal rifts. Play a henchman to reveal, then shuffle a villain to reveal that is worth the most VP, and then shuffle the other side into the villain deck. If the villain deck runs out during this, it doesn't end the game. When there are 7 temporal rifts or the villain deck runs out. So if it runs out during that, it doesn't, but afterwards it will. So at least one interesting thing about all of these is that there's nothing like, when the last steam twist is played, you lose. It's always when this effect hits, or a thing happens. You might be able to maybe stop some of these and prevent them from finishing regardless. It's a really neat idea, but I'm hoping they add more of it. And being the way this is done is that you have to have a front and back. They'd have to put it like another 4 into another set. They couldn't just add like 1 or 2 here. And this game has a tendency to go a long time without revisiting stuff. So they, they did the original sidekick. It took a couple of sets. They finally did a second set. And now it's taking them forever to finally do another set of sidekicks. But those are a little bit different because they act independent. But the Secret Wars set, both of them added ambitions, so you could play as the mastermind. Then they've never went back to that. So like any of them cards, it's cool, but they never went back and added more cards in a different thing. So you have more different options. It's like you get those 2, that's all you get. And then X-Men added horrors, and they haven't went back to that. The Civil War set, I think it was, added grievous wounds, and they've never went back and added anything to those. Those are slightly different than this because there's enough of each of them that they can kind of act on their own, and they didn't really need more, but it'd be nice to have more variation. But this would be better, like, if you, instead of having 4 cards, if you had 10. And you have a lot more randomness of what you might get. Because if you're only playing with 4, you could play 4 games. And if you're just randomly selecting it, you could end up playing the same one twice or 3 times, maybe 4 if you have really bad luck. Unless you, like, purposely take them out and stack the deck that way. Alright, so we forgot to look at the Henchmen. So you're going to get your 10 copies of the Henchmen. We're going to have Mr. Sinister clones. Ambush clone. When the clone copy enters the city, shuffle a bystander into the villain deck. Fight. When you clone the next hero you recruit that turn. Clone the next hero you recruit that turn that has a printed cost of 4 or less. So another card that gives the clone ability. This should be really fun just to play, because you play him, and you're going to get 2 of them out. So it's going to take up an extra space, but they're both 3s, nice and easy to beat. And that clone ability is going to let you get your deck a little bit better. So I could definitely see this being one I might throw in instead of like maybe the Sentinels or the Hand Ninjas. And then the other one we have, which is a little bit worse. We have Sentinel Squad 1, which costs 2, which is less than the normal 3. But it's Ambush. If there are no other Sentinel Squad 1s in the city, you clone them. So if there aren't any more, you'll get a second one. And then Fight. If there are no other Sentinel Squad 1s in the city, KO one of your heroes and put this villain on the bottom of the villain deck. So as long as there's one in the city, they're fine to fight, because then if there's none, they'll clone, they'll get a second one. But if there isn't at least 2 out there, so if you can't, so when you take out the second one, if you don't wait, or let them escape, you're going to have to KO one of your characters. So it's a little hit or miss. Kind of neat, but it's a little bit different take on the regular Sentinels. And these will work with the Bastion set, where he leads one of the Sentinels. Alright, so that's what we have. The only other thing I have is if you got this set early enough, you would get one promo card. I'm going to show it off, so it's not necessarily in every deck. I got it from ordering it straight from the Upper Deck website, and actually say whether or not it comes with the promo, but some stores might have it. And it's just a alt version of one of the multiple man cards. It's the Reavers duplicate. It's his ultimate card. It works the exact same. There's no differences in it. It's just different artwork. Let me see if I can grab that card really quick. So here's the original. Here's the new one. So it gives him more of his classic look versus his newer X Factor Investigations look. Like that was the one he had for the longest time. With the trench coat and the little hoodie thing, when he's more of a superhero than an investigator. Otherwise, it's the exact same card. But it's kind of neat because you have 2 copies, so you could play with one of each if you wanted to. But yeah, I like that they added a promo in there that was just a duplicate versus an exclusive, like Noir had the Wolverine and X-Men had Magic. I mean, I love having promo cards. I love having additional things. Definitely. But it kind of sucks that you have one card that's locked to a set that if you don't buy it early, you might never get it. At least this one, if you don't get it, you're just losing alternate artwork. Alright, so that's Messiah Complex. This is a very long video. I probably went a little bit deeper into character lore than I usually do. But I think that's also fun to do too. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye.